What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Price Man, aka Price Dynasty. So I'm gonna do a reaction video to Tristan Tate talking about starting at zero. I felt this video was appropriate because I've noticed a lot of people are getting laid off these days and they might have to reinvent themselves. Or sometimes you may want to branch out. There's some people, such as myself, who has steady income right now, but you never know what can change. I mean, AI is really causing a lot of disarray in the employment field. So here it is. Well, actually, before I begin, I just want to set this about Tristan Tate. He's kind of divisive, but just because you may or may not like him personally, just keep in mind you can learn things from anyone, even if you despise the person. You know, I have no ill will towards this man, by the way, or I don't despise him or anything like that. But if you are one of the people who don't like him or his brother, I understand. However, the old saying goes, take the good, leave the bad. So, without further ado, let's begin the video.
In life, there are only winners and losers. There are no participation trophies. There's no, stickers and everyone's invited to have a good time. Life is hard. And everyone in life is actually trying to play the same game. If you're a sportsman, you like racquetball, I've heard, for example.
Yeah.
There's a small pool of people who play racquetball, and you have to compete within that pool to be the best, and maybe you become the world champion. There's a small pool of people who compete at kickboxing, professional soccer, and the bigger the pool is, the more difficult it is. Well, life is the only game where every single one of us, 8.1 billion people, is trying to play the exact same game. And the same game is, there's only so much money in the world, there's only so many resources, there's only so much happiness. I'm going to try to provide for my family as best as I can. And whether people say money's not important or is important, everyone's part of this game. So winning is very difficult. I did 6 months in the McDonald's drive-thru. I worked 3 years in a pret-a-manger store in Luton Airport making sandwiches. And it's those jobs, the real selling your time for money hour by hour, that teaches you the value of things. Even now, I jokingly laugh with Andrew when I buy things. I don't know what the numbers are, but I'll calculate, like, how many hours would I have had to work in that job to buy, say, the Bugatti? And it's something crazy like 310 years of constantly working at that sandwich shop. No hours off, no days off. So yeah, so we're talking at like 4 human lifetimes.
So I'm going to pause it right there and add some commentary to it. So that is very true. Now, again, if you don't like this man, I understand. But keep that in mind. Let that be a lesson to you. I mean, think about it. You trade your time for money. I know you've been taught that, and there are some good paying jobs out there. I've had those jobs. I still kind of have them, but I don't want to talk about myself because I don't want anybody to dox me, okay? What I make is my business. No one needs to know what I make. But just as a cautionary tale, definitely got to be cognizant of the time you have. I mean, you'll blink and then you'll be older and you wait a second, why did I waste all this time trading my time for peanuts, basically? So this is very eye-opening for people who don't understand that. And even if you get to a higher salary, there are times I'll use lawyers as an example, and don't get me wrong, there are lawyers making a lot of money, but they're also, I'd say middle of the pack lawyers who are working 80 hours a week and putting in maybe like $60K a year, which it's not bad, it's not a bad salary, but if you think about all the time they put to get that, they could just go wait tables. Now again, got a lot of respect for lawyers. We need lawyers, and they go through a lot to get that. Now on the flip side, you got doctors. They spend a lot of time in the hospital. Of course, there's a lot of burnout, but they get paid handsomely for that. So in their case, they're trading that time, but they're getting a lot more in return. But man, that is high stress stuff. There's a reason why, they have to go through all that schooling and have to handle that. But off topic, let's go back to Tristan, see what he has to say.
I've always given people a hard time who claim they don't have time to be in shape. If they're big and fat and they're like, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym. First of all, everyone has time enough to eat less because it actually requires less time. So that's a cop-out as it is. But a line that my coach used to say when I was training at Storm Gym, when people say, oh, I don't have dumbbells at home, I don't have a punch bag at home. He always used to say, if you're determined enough, you could get in the best shape that you could possibly get in an empty room by yourself. And when I was in jail, that came back to me in my mind. I was just like, well, I can get in amazing shape in an empty room By myself. How determined are you? It's not fun down on that dirty floor doing those push-ups with roaches crawling by your face as you're going down and up. It's not fun, doing sit-ups with a towel on your back on a concrete floor instead of a mat. It isn't fun sitting there doing squats, looking at the TV, sweating and then having to take one of those horrible showers. But you have to do what you have to do.
Almost every single stat you have in life.
I will pause it right there, and then I'm a big, even though I need to slim up, I will say that from the jump. I do need to slim up, but not to make excuses. With me, it's a little bit different. I found out that my body's not processing things as it should. So, for example, I have to switch from regular pasta to gluten-free pasta, and I gotta watch how many potatoes I have. Even if it's a baked potato, I gotta really be cognizant of that. For whatever reason, my body stores that, and it kind of bloats me. So I have to be careful on that for sure, especially on my gut. So there are people who have to deal with that, but it's still within my control to manage it, But going back to the exercise part, I remember there's a gentleman, a lot younger than me. I think he was in his early 20s. I believe he just got his bachelor's degree, and he's talking about he works out 6 days a week. Now, and he's in great shape. I mean, pause as I say all this, pretty, built, and he's fairly slim. I mean, he's lean. He's not super lean because he's not a skinny dude. He's not scrawny, but he's in pretty good shape. But he has a high stress job. He's remember having to do this financial analyst, basically getting the contracts, and then it's high, basically commission only. High stress but high reward. So he has to deal with that. Sometimes long hours, yet he still is able to find time to work out 6 days a week. Admittedly, I didn't ask him what he's doing in those 6 days, but I mean, he's in pretty good shape. Yeah, he's in his early 20s, but still, to be in that great shape and commit to 6 days a week, that's phenomenal. I've been trying to replicate that. I've been going to the gym about 6 days a week myself. Now on the treadmill and just doing lightweight, higher reps, because enough is enough. I can't. Yeah, I'm getting older. I'm not gonna divulge my age. I'm no longer in my 20s. We'll leave it at that. But definitely got to take some pride in yourself, because you can't walk around here looking like Jabba the Hutt. I mean, come on now. And then not just that from the aesthetics part, but to be able to walk around, climb up stairs, and things like that without being out of breath, that's a big deal. So back to the video.
You never stagnate. You're always deteriorating. You never get fit enough to think, okay, that's it. And if you stop training, you stay the same. If you're not growing, you're shrinking. Everything is always deteriorating. You forget things day to day if you don't top your knowledge up. It all deteriorates if you don't work on it. So you have to keep that in mind, because any kind of complacency, any kind of laziness, it's going to come back and bite you.
Imagine you're on a sailing boat. There's 10 of you. 10 of you are on a sailing boat, miles and miles from any land, from the shore. And the boat springs a leak. The boat starts to sink. It does sink. And there's 10 of you in the water, right? You swim and you swim and you swim. Every single one of you thinks, this boat sank. This sucks. I do anything. I do anything for that boat to be back, for that boat not to have sank. And you, and maybe one other dude out of the 10 reaches the shore. You get onto that sand, you lay your back on that beach, you look up at the sky, and you think, thank, I'm saved. After just a day, or a week, or 2 weeks, when you're finally back at civilization, you will be so happy that boat sank. Focusing on the event, paddling in that water, in the ocean, no matter how long you stay there, dreaming that the boat comes back, is always the wrong way to live. When you've been through the hardship, you have to persevere through it and get through the other end. And that's what separates the wheat from the chaff. That's what separates the milk from the cream. So you can, like my brother was said, go through hardship, let it break you, let it destroy you, let yourself fall into some mediocre life that you don't like and you don't love, and you lose your passion and you lose your fire, and that's fine, because that's what's going to happen to most people who go through hard experiences. But you don't want to be that person. You want to be the small percentage, because not everyone listening is going to go through hard shit and make it through.
Yeah.
You want to be that small percentage that does make it through, that goes through the hardship and laughs about it, smiles about it. Many people now watching this, the 30,000 watching live and the millions who will watch this, I'm sure, in the coming days and weeks and months, will be like, oh no, but with me, well, right now I'm going through this. Good. There's tens of thousands of you who will hear this message, and maybe 300-400 are going to make it to the point where they're like, ha ha ha, that was so good, that was so hilarious, I'm now killing it. We've run many businesses that did well for a little bit.
Okay, so I'm gonna do some commentary on that for sure. So there are some times where you have to go through some hardship, and then you come out, and after you beat that, you just think, "Is that it?" I mean, I beat that. I mean, and some other issues come up. You're like, "Is that it? That's nothing. I already beat this thing that was 10 times more difficult than whatever is going on now." And then definitely, I know people are just too quick to throw in the towel. I mean, don't get me wrong. Take a moment if it's something that's really gut wrenching. Just experience the feelings. Let it, maybe take a day. I think that's too long, but take at least an hour or so. If you need a few days, if it's depending on how serious it is, like let's say if somebody died or something, then okay, take some time to really process that. But you can't take months, weeks to be like, oh man, what am I gonna do? I mean, the world doesn't stop. So you have to get your ass up and figure it out. I mean, there's sometimes in my thing where I had to deal with heartbreak, loss of housing, employment, a car, and friends. I mean, that was in my early 20s, and I got through that. Now it's just like I deal with some other stuff. It's like, oh well, like I mean, people out here crying about just a bunch of nonsense. Like, for example, I had a coworker call me. This is last year, sometime after the Donald won the election, right? Crying, absolutely sobbing. You know, could you come in and cover for me? I'm like, sure, okay. I'm like, I'll help you out. I mean, she sounded really distraught, and I'm thinking somebody died. Come to find out, she was crying about Donald Trump winning the election. Mind you, this is a grown ass woman. This woman is in her 30s. I like 30 to 32 years old, crying that the Donald won the election. Is that really? I mean, look, we're not going to get into if you're for or against Donald, but imagine, let's put it the other way. Imagine some man or woman, either one, crying that Kamala Harris won the election. You will look at them like they're crazy. Like, bro, what is wrong, bro? Or, sis, what is wrong with you? Why are you over here crying because Kamala won the election? Don't you have more important things to worry about? Get out of here with this. But to the video.
Then failed. We've tried to launch projects using the last of our money. We tried to bring various drinks we like from Eastern Europe to sell in UK supermarkets, set up meetings, invested all of our last money in this project. Everyone told us no. Failed. We had this idea once to set up a system where people could run, remember those competitions or win a vacation, text this to this number. We tried to middleman that and allow other people to run text competitions on a premium rate phone line that we set up. And we set it up and tried to market it, lost all of our money. Once again, we were broke eating ramen noodles. So we've tried everything. I mean, we've done all sorts of failed and successful businesses over the years. And I think it was just persistence that got us there. A lot of people are going to get, kicked in the nuts and take a fall, and they're going to let it beat them down. Andrew's lost very important kickboxing matches. Did he quit fighting then? Did I quit fighting when I got my ass kicked a couple times? No, you don't.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That no one is ever going to give a shit about you, even 1% as much as you have to give a shit about yourself. No one cares.
So what he just said, facts. I mean, you'll get like assistance here or there, but overall, no one's gonna really give a shit about you. I'm gonna keep the language, not too too harsh here. But I mean, now there is some some exceptions here. So for example, a woman from like 18 to about 30, yeah, they'll get all the chances and leeway in the world, and people are gonna show them more care and more assistance than, let's say, a man in that same age bracket. But after that, once a woman gets a little older, no one's gonna care as much. I mean, there'll still be some simps to help her out for sure. There's always gonna be simps, unfortunately. Hopefully, the simp apocalypse comes to an end sooner rather than later. But as it stands now, there are a bunch of simps out there. But as a man, you're on your own. It's like in The Dark Knight Rises. There's that one scene where the politician was like, "Oh, we haven't forgotten you about you, Gotham. You're in our hopes and prayers." And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character is like, "Well, what does that mean?" And then Gary Oldman says, "It means we're on our own." So, but even though on your own, you can do great things on your own. So never forget that. And So for the women who stop experiencing all the attention, you're gonna have to realize that, because truthfully, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna get flamed, grilled, what have you. Women start on easy mode, men start on either hard or nightmare difficulty. Sometimes if you're like a genetically gifted dude, like if you're a super chat or whatever have you, like 604, and even super yoked, you could go on medium difficulty. It's rare that a man starts on easy mode. However, things do change, and if you don't improve yourself and you don't get that grit, you can go from starting on easy like a woman to nightmare mode or at the drop of a hat. Usually it's around 30-ish for a woman to really experience it. Where a man, you're gonna have to pull yourself out of the nightmare difficulty or hard mode to get yourself on easy street for sure. But let's continue the video.
No one cares about you if you're a man, ever. Everything is conditional. You don't get loved unconditionally. And that's a beautiful thing because that makes you strive to create your own value as a man. And the problem that men have is we all go from a time when everyone cares about us to a time no one does. Women don't lose it until they're maybe, then they'll be like, oh, what the fuck's going on? Now she understands what it's like to become a 15, 16, 17-year-old man. Because we've gone through the stage. I remember my aunts and uncles, hey, little Tristan, I remember, they all cared about me back then. Then you get to 16, 17, 18, you're out in the cold world and you're like, no one gives a f-, do they? I can't pay my bills. I have no food. Nobody cares. Yeah, your mother and your father will care a little bit, but you have to care about them. So I'd say the duty of protection is the other way around once you become an adult. And you have to care about yourself. So the best advice I can give to anyone, especially the young men who are 13, 14, 15, who, are sitting in their room playing video games and their mother's still bringing them sandwiches, if she continues to care about you that much and you lean on it, you're going to be a nobody. And if she says, okay, you're 18 now, get out of my house, you're going to be a nobody until you make something of yourself. So the best advice every young man needs to hear is nobody gives a shit about you at all until you make them give a shit. No matter where you were born and no matter what your circumstances are, if you wish to become a force for good in the world, you can become a force for good in the world. And everything that my brother preaches, from believing in God, hard work, discipline, stoicism, we certainly practice it as well. And this wouldn't have come, and we would not be the men that we are today if we had not made all of the mistakes we had made. We've run many businesses that have failed. I've made many mistakes in relationships, many mistakes in friendships. I wouldn't be as complete as I am, and I wouldn't understand the world as well as I do if I had never lived my past.
I don't know where you're watching this video, but it might not be around forever. The Matrix may take it down. However, up here, there's a link to my Telegram channel. Please click it. All the daily Tristan Tate content is going to be posted there, and that channel isn't going.
Okay, perfect. So I'll link a copy of the original video down in the comment box below, but I just want to have some final thoughts here. So, this is why I show some love to the Tate brothers, especially Andrew. Again, actually, let me pause. I don't agree with everything they said, but take the good, leave the bad. They have a unique perspective that not many people have. So, and I can relate because they know what it's like to live, in a better area and also to live in a less desirable neighborhood. So I'll use myself as an example to clarify that. So I grew up in pre-gentrified Brooklyn. You ever seen Coming to America throwing trash out the window? They got a landfill in between the 210 buildings. I was there. Not only that, at the Chinese restaurant, bulletproof glass. They also had some cool basketball cards at the Chinese restaurant. But there's a broken glass, the whole 9 yard. Think of what's that old song by Grandmaster Flash? Was it The Message? Yeah, broken glass everywhere. Anyway, but I can't sing. But also though, I'm not gonna say the name of the town, but it's a place in California. My aunt lived there. Much nicer neighborhood for sure. Definitely no broken glass everywhere, and there was no bulletproof glass. Definitely the suburbs. Very, very great area. So, so I was able to see the stark contrast of how people carry themselves, and how people partake in certain activities. Not saying that there isn't no dirt in the suburbs. I mean, people do what they do. It's just more hidden, but overall, it's more calm in the suburbs. A lot more quiet in the suburbs, for sure, quieter. I should say, in the suburbs. So it's good to always meet people that have that unique perspective who can say they've been on both sides. I mean, that's really what all boils down to. Is like, do you have that perspective to either relate to a wider range of people? Because, for example, if I only knew that part in Brooklyn, where people used to take the food coupons and buy Chinese food, you know, and for those who know, food coupons are old. This is before they had the Eat Better Tonight card, all right? They had a booklet. It's called food coupons. It's the food stamps. And they'll go to the Chinese restaurant, get themselves some chicken wings, a pork fried rice, a pork egg roll, and by hey, they're the food coupons instead of using cash. So keep in mind, whereas you go to where my aunt lived, they don't have food coupons. They're not gonna take that at the Chinese restaurant. Like, what's going on here? They're not taking that. So definitely something to keep in mind. But like, comment, subscribe, share it, and also show some love to these guys. I mean, again, I know they're very divisive, but still, they take the good, leave the bad. That's going to serve you well in life. Because think about it, if you're going to try to find someone that's going to serve all your boxes, without having anything divisive to say, I'm not sure if that person exists, because not everyone's going to fit what you need to hear 100%. So again, take the good, leave the bad. Till next time, YouTube.